Hello. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Okay, good. So first of all, I won't be taking any data investigation requests today in this session in the interest of time. I know I'm Comscore. Number two, I promise not to talk much about Comscore because that was the mandate given to me by Shrikant. Talk about something that's topical but still fresh. So we probably try and move a little bit beyond inventory, right? And talk about social media and digital news publishers. Unlike AI, and this is the first of two times I'll mention AI in my presentation, unlike AI, which is at that beginning stage where it is, we don't know whether we should be scared or we should be excited, as Shrikant said. I think we are here at a stage where we don't like it too much from a digital news publishing industry. Right? So I think maybe the love part of the affair, the romance part is over and now we're somewhere in the middle part of it. But let's talk about it. I'm going to be optimistic. A recent survey talked about news consumption in India. It's a nice survey from commissioned by Google, done by Kantar, which says that 93% of Indians consume digital news on YouTube, 88% on other social media platforms, and 82% on chat. We know this. You guys know this better than me, right? I'm sure you've seen this report. What it also says is that only 45% actually come to news publisher domains and apps. That's the scary part, perhaps, right? And I guess that's what the old Comscore does, as you know, we measure traffic on domains and apps. Another survey, again, an annual report that comes out from Reuters Institute, talks about, the same thing, that how are young Indians consuming news, 52% on social media. Right? But guess what? Print's still around. Not bad. 40%. Right? So there's still a market there. And again, you've probably seen this stuff. From a Comscore standpoint, since we measure, we looked at what's been the total consumption of the internet in India over the last 12 months. 424 billion hours spent by Indians on the internet. And 123 billion out of that is on social media. So like it, love it, hate it, whatever, you can't ignore it. Right? Somebody said that better than I just did, but that's the reality. You can't ignore it. 10 times of that is spent on news. Right? 10 times on finance. News seems to be very, very topical for us Indians. Right? We spend the same amount of time on the internet on these two topics. And I'm sorry if people at the back can't see the lower part, but I'm sure afaqs can arrange for a copy of the presentation. Retail, same as news. We love buying stuff, right? 123 billion hours in the last 1 year cumulatively on social media. Comscore measures 510 million users of the internet in India. 96% of those spend time on social media. Massive. Again, I'm just showing you these slides that is something that none of us can ignore. We all use it maybe in our personal lives, but we also need to look at it, how can we capitalize on this in business. This is how it's grown in the last 3 years. Almost tripled. I mean, and these are, step changes. I mean, this may look like a curvy graph, but it's in 3 years' time, this kind of a change where the consumption has grown to almost 6 billion hours a month is massive. 256% increase in time spent on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So, what's the opportunity like? What are we looking at? I think the first thing we have to look at is actions speak louder than reach. That's the new reality. Right? We have to see actions. Traditionally, we've measured reach, of course. Publishers, agencies, we've all measured reach. But in the digital world, it's actions that are important. It's engagement that we have to figure out, and that happens only through action. And the platforms provide us with that. Historically, if you're driving past a hoarding on the road, I mean, it's, in good faith, we say, that, okay, we've got some impressions. But in the digital world, we can actually measure this. And that's the beauty of digital. And in social media specifically, the engagement is measured by likes, comments, shares, etc. All can be measured at a granular level with super demographic information. So impressions tell us nothing. Maybe a bit provocative statement, but it's true, I think. So, in net, publishers, and for that matter, any brand on social media has to have an audience, has to build an audience, a lot of following, fans, and also have engagement with them. Let me give you an example. Two brands here, Wow Skin Science India and Mama Earth. In the month of June, Wow Skin Science, with a total audience of 800,000 fans and followers, had an engagement, had 169,000 actions, 21% engagement. Mama Earth, and these are all topical brands, we know about them, right? They're funded, we hear about them, so much of money they're making, they're startup, they're doing well, great. Mama Earth, and this is first party data from the platforms. Mama Earth, 1.6 million fans and followers, but only 50,000 engagements. You tell me, your perspective, which is better? The one on the left or the one on the right? Left. That's what we are talking about. And this is possible through accurate, these are not opinions, this is hard data, it's first party data available from the platform that we can measure and provide. And then measurement is not adequate, you have to take actions based on this. Of course, everyone hopes to have viral stuff like this, but this is once in a while, right? Chandrayaan got over 9 million actions on the 14th of July on these platforms. Now, interestingly, if you see the banner on top, you can see that, yes, there were some publications that did a lot of posts on social media. There was also Mr. Modi, 4 posts, very high engagement, right? And he did 7 posts and got almost 600,000 actions. He's an influencer, right? Puberty did 1 post. They got as much, almost as much as Bayani. And these are things that didn't exist 5 years ago, right? They didn't exist. I mean, we would have been satisfied with these 3. But now we have these 2 players who come in and get almost as much engagement with fewer posts. That means they've got a fan following engagement rate that are massive. So it's eye-opening to see this kind of stuff actually measured. What's also important, apart from engagement, is to measure, because there's no point in having engagement if you can't measure it, report it, and then act upon it, right? And it's important to be able to measure this cross-platform. Anybody know who those guys? MBA guys in the room? So, Edwards Deming was the father of quality, the father of TQM, right? And he said something, he said many good things, many great things. He actually is credited for being the guy who actually reinvented Japan after the Second World War, right? That much of credit. This is what he said. Right? Now, data, that's what he said. Everybody else must bring data. He also said, without data, you're just another person with an opinion. So, the problem today compared to 60, 70 years ago when he said this is that there is no shortage of data. We have more data than we want or like. It's actually the bane of our existence today. There's so much data. All of you are CXOs, you guys are in senior positions. How much data do you handle on a daily, weekly basis? Massive amounts. The problem is it reliable? So to be successful in any business, what we need is to be able to derive insights. And you can derive insights only if you have access to accurate data. So what's needed is reliable data, is accurate data, let's call it trusted data. So when people look at Mr. Deming's statement, they laugh at it because everyone must bring data, but I think the key words are not only data, but trust. So I combined the two and I said, okay, we need to get trusted data, and that will allow us to get insights, which will allow us to take smart business decisions and actions. And that will lead to engagement, that will lead to monetization, and there'll be much smarter people than me in the later sessions today talking about all those things. At least until AI hits us and kills us all, but that's a different story. So, nice graphic here. Engagement that all these fine people have got over the last 6 months since the beginning of this year on social media only. Known faces, more attractive than mine, most of them. But the important point of this slide is hidden here in the left-hand side corner over here, is that all of this is derived from first-party data. And as we go forward, and the next panel is going to be on the cookieless world, I think that's not right to say, that no precise term, it's going to be third-party cookieless world, which means that will be more and more dependent on first-party data, and that is the future of measurement. So we need to get first-party data, we need to form deep data partnerships and collaborations, and we need to be able to report them in an independent, syndicated fashion. That's the future of measurement. And that gives you absolutely accurate data like this. I will give you 100% confidence on these numbers. You go dig individual platform by platform, individual person, influencer by influencer, you will get these numbers. So it has to be accurate, it has to be reliable, it has to be trusted. IPL. Interesting data. So normally you look at the top two teams, Chennai Super King. Actually, let's look at Chennai and Mumbai. Similar audience numbers, 33 million. But Chennai Super Kings got 830 million engagement actions, Mumbai Indians only 555. Same audience numbers, very different engagement. Look at Bangalore. Very high engagement on a much smaller base of 26 million fans and followers. First party data, absolutely accurate, take it to the bank. Importance of accurate, reliable, trusted data. Everyone's seen this. How did JioCinema do over the last 12 months? No surprises, we all know this. We either know it intellectually or we know it emotionally. This is what happened when the FIFA World Cup happened. They peaked from like 10 million users to 71 million users. Dropped again, it's a nice looking sine wave for those who know that kind of mathematics. IPL, no surprise, 151 million. Again dropping in June. Comscore just published our June data a couple of days back and it's again started dropping. But accurate data, take it to the bank. But is it enough to measure yourself, what you're doing, how you're performing? It's never enough, right? You want to know what your competition's doing. How are they doing? So let's look at the same numbers for OTT. Again, we see the same JioCinema trend. We see them drop, and then we see, hey, what's happening with the other two players, which is MX Player and Disney Hotstar. And right now, for the month of June, we see that they're converging in that 100 to 120 million user range. Obviously, free things sell well, if I can say that. Free things sell, but up to a point. Let's look at some other scenarios. In politics. So we took the handles for two people, Mr. Rahul Gandhi and Mr. Narendra Modi, and we looked at their engagement since the last 2 months. So you see, the blue line is Mr. Gandhi, and the orange line is Mr. Modi. Mr. Modi's roadshow in Karnataka, social media engagement across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Congress wins the Karnataka elections. New parliament building. This is actual engagement. This is not impression. This is not just somebody looking at a post. This is somebody actually looking at a post and then doing something about it. Liking it, reposting it, commenting on it. the recent visit abroad to US and Egypt. So this is, again, first-party data, actual data telling you. So it doesn't matter what industry you're in, right? You're publishing, you're in politics, you're in sports, you're in whatever. You need to have this, you have to look at what you are doing and how you're doing, but you have to look at your competition. As granular way and as recently as possible. Another example. We do this, we started publishing these social power rankings in January. We've got automotive players on social media, and this is the kind of engagement that they have got over the last this is actually for the month of May. Again, known brands. Interestingly, it's not an OEM that's got the most engagement, it's Big Boys Toys who's got the most engagement. So they're doing something that's taking their stuff viral, their content viral. Let's look at something more relevant to this room. Should I skip this slide? I'll take a vote. Okay. So let's look at May and what happened, actions across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter for the top 5 performing handles. 27 million actions. From South India. Not bad, almost 40 million actions from ABP. Something that's being done right. Something's doing right in Chennai. Chennai Super Kings and Sun News and Behind Woods. Right? And number 1, Aaj Tak. Right? So these are what the numbers say. That's how it's doing in the public. So the question then is, some people in some places have figured out that they need to be on social media, they need to be doing stuff, they need to be seen doing stuff and do it right and get engagement. But why? And Srikanth set up the difficult task for me. He said monetization for web publishers, very difficult. He's been doing this for over 20 years, right? So I have no magic wand here. Let me preface this with that statement. But let me share some examples of how we've seen monetization happen. Right? And recent times. Anyone not seen this movie? Put up their hand. Okay, there are a few. Okay. On average, we've measured this. On average, Yash Raj Films does about 150 to 200 posts a month on a variety of content pieces that they publish. In January, they did almost 700 content pieces. Massive amount, promoting Pathaan. And this is just Yash Raj Films handle, right? This is not Shah Rukh Khan, this is not John Abraham, this is not Deepika, this is not anything else. This is just their post. I'm sure there was a lot more posts, a lot of content that went out on social promoting this. Right? And then Shah Rukh Khan gets into the action and says to his fans where they can go to book tickets with the links to those platforms. This is monetization. You know this. The question I was discussing with Sushmita earlier, right? How can news publishers do something like this? I'm saying that maybe they can't do something like this, but maybe they can do some different things to figure that out. And like I said, I'm not a practitioner, but I'm sure there are smart people who will come up with monetization models that can be done. And there are, right? If you look at brand partnerships with entities and influencers, this is again from Jan to July of this year. We see a bunch of brands that have done such partnerships. Most of them are sports, most are cricket. There's one football right at the bottom, and there's one publisher, and there's one influencer. Hard data. Mumbai Indians did the most partnered content with actions. Almost 6 times that of the next entity. And as from influencer standpoint, Shubman Gill, I had a wrong photograph in that earlier slide where he had him, but then that would have been censored, so we stuck to the right one. The only influencer who made it to the top 10 and had 125 million on partnered content. Remember, he had 25 million actions on the total content that he posted, but he had 1.25 million on partnered content. So there's somebody making some money here. Zee Bangla, what did they do? partnered content. Speaks for itself. You may have seen it, you may not have seen it, but the measurements are available to tell you that this is how it's been done. And to crown it all, India Today Group with Aaj Tak, massive amount of engagement on social media. Their YouTube story is of course known. They've made a lot of money of that, but again, I'm sure you know the people, you know whom to talk to figure out if they're willing to share how monetization is being done here. But it's an opportunity that we really, really, really should not be ignoring. It's not a threat, it's an opportunity. So, to close, has social media drawn traffic away from news publisher domains and apps? Of course. So what? I challenge you guys with a question, so what? It's happened in the past. Radio took away audiences from print, TV took away audiences from radio and print, TV took away audiences, digital came, and now social media is taking it away from digital. But guess what? Has any one of these platforms died? So we have to learn how to do that. Technology will continue to develop and create new delivery models. What's next? I said, the second time I mentioned artificial intelligence in my presentation, and that's here. Is it going to be AI next? Is it AR? Are we going to have brain implants injecting content and use it directly into our brains in 50 years' time? I don't know. But it's just a delivery mechanism. So let's not be scared. They are delivery channels and hence opportunities. We need to figure out how to make the most of these opportunities. To grow audiences, to build engagement, to reinforce our brands, maybe deliver news synopsis, links to content. I know there are challenges, Facebook's algorithm strategy, Google algorithm strategy. So we are at that mid-phase in our relationship with the platforms where things are probably a little more antagonistic than collaborative. Yes, but it will evolve. Especially on social media, I have a belief, and this belief comes from talking to people in this room and outside this room in this industry. I believe that there is huge opportunity even to derive editorial insights. Normally, it's always looked at it from a point of view of monetization, ad, inventory, etc. But I challenge you, can you use the engagement that you get on social media to derive editorial insights? When should I post? What kind of post should I post? What's the demographic I should target? We can do that all on social media, which we can't do it in our other mediums. And satisfy our clients. Finally, the money comes from the advertiser, right? The advertiser has demand. More and more are demanding. Is any advertiser demanding outcome-based results? Are they okay with impressions? So, how do we customize our offerings to actually deliver those kind of results, to deliver that kind of measurement that satisfies them? And again, there are going to be sessions. I think, what the stuff I've talked about are going to be repeated in much more granular detail by people far more experienced than me in this domain, and talk about how it can be done, how it should be done, what are their experiences. Trusted data is critical. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So we have to move beyond inventory. It will be there. That's going to be part of our business, no question about it. But we have to move into other business, other monetization models. We have to experiment, we have to observe, we have to learn. That will allow us to earn. Thank you.